Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of LFC Transfer Room. We have a Moises Caicedo conundrum to unpick. It's been one hell of a 24 hours for Liverpool fans and Chelsea fans and Moises Caicedo and his agent and everyone else involved in this deal. And let's not forget the Brighton fans as well, hopefully, who are all tuning in. We are going to unpick everything that's happened today. I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of comments and lots of views. We are aiming for around about an hour and a half, actually, to try and unpick all of this. So we're not going to skim over anything. And if you do have anything to say, please do make sure you put things into the comments. Before we get on to the Caicedo might be the apt preference for it, I'm going to introduce everybody else. So James, how are you today?
I'm all the better for that little pun there, Richie. I mean, that's made everything better, hasn't it? I'm not devastated anymore.
We can all just move on now. It's the headlines for tomorrow. So any journalist listening, I do want 10% of that. Okay. Mihai, how are you?
Deflated, I guess that's the word. But yeah, we're just gonna move on, I guess, from it. But from what I see, Chelsea are close to agreeing terms with Lavia now. So that's another one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to discuss all of these things later as well. So do make sure that you stay with us for the duration, because there's so much to unpick, as we've said. And Mihai quite rightly said there, Lavia is not 100% over the line for either club, and I'm sure he'll come into it as well. Ben, how are you, buddy?
Exhausted. It's been an absolute roller coaster of a day, hasn't it? I'm the laughing stock of my work at the moment, because this morning I strolled in and I was like, that's it, we're going to win the league, it's our year. And now I'm kind of like, I've just like literally turned my phone. I've muted every group that I'm in, and I'm just literally, I've give up.
I mean, it's crazy. Let's start from the top. So I'm quite fortunate. I didn't wake up until around about, I woke up at 6 first, but I was fortunate enough to go back to sleep until around about 7 o'clock. And I woke up without looking at my phone, and the WhatsApp chat was banging. It was popping off. And I was like, what's happened? And I looked at my phone, and it had that Liverpool had a bid accepted from Brighton for 110 million. So let's start there, because that in itself is a huge bid for Liverpool to make, and it's a huge bid for FSG to make, etc., etc. We know how much flack that they quite rightly perhaps have got over the past couple of months, and how slow it seems to be that we're getting this number 6 in. I mean, what were your thoughts there, James, so early in the morning that Liverpool have had a bid accepted for 110 million for Moises Caicedo, an absolute monster of a midfielder?
I think, firstly, my initial reaction was disbelief. Then my second thought went to Damo, thinking he must be losing his mind right here. And then I started to think about it, and it kind of made sense. Because if you think about Liverpool, all this Lavia stuff was public. We made this bid for Lavia, and then suddenly this mystery club made a bid for Caicedo, or bid in contact for Caicedo, and we hear nothing for a week. And then Liverpool's bid's accepted. So I think, and this is just my opinion, that when we made that decision, when we made that bid for Lavia, that was instantaneously rejected. I think we'd already moved on to Caicedo. I think we were said mystery club that everyone was saying had contacted. And I think we've probably been talking to Brighton for about a week about this. And that's when we've got our bid accepted. So it's great to see that we have got the money. It's great to see that we have put a bid in. It's a real shame it got to the point where I think there was so much anger in the fan base last Thursday, 2 days ago, before the bid came in, that we hadn't spent anything. And then just the whole good feeling and good vibes that happened this morning, to then just looking as deflated as Ben does right now. I mean, it just looks broken, man. So it's kind of like a whirlwind of a day, but the money's there. That's the main thing I've got in my head at the moment, and everybody knows the money's there now.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be important in several ways going forwards, because A, we know that the money's there, so maybe the fans have maybe calmed down a little bit, but also B, other clubs know that the money's there as well. So that Lavia 50 million fee, if we are unsuccessful with Caicedo, perhaps Southampton might turn around and want 60 million. We'll soon see. Mihai, what was your thoughts this morning? Again, waking up, I was over the moon. You know, it was better than a cup of coffee in bed. That was for me this morning, seeing Caicedo look like he was going to join Liverpool. to just think of the morning alone, and then obviously we'll get on to everything else. And everyone else, please do put your comments in. We do have already nearly 300 people in this stream, which is absolutely fantastic. We are 120 subscriptions away from 8,500 of you. So thank you so much. Please do make sure that you leave a comment, a like, and a subscribe as well. Mihai, going back to you. How did you feel this morning about the bid being accepted? I mean, for me, it was a state of, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Liverpool have sanctioned such a deal.
Yeah, it's been, I remembered all the talks I've had in the last few weeks now about the lack of ambition, about how we're not going to spend, about how Caicedo is such a good fit for us. And we were all pretty much thinking it, but we never thought it would actually happen. Then it did, then it didn't, and now I don't know where it is necessarily. But yeah, I was excited because I was rethinking on my predictions. I know James wasn't a fan, so I would like to state publicly I'm not an Arsenal fan, just so that everyone knows. But I am tripled up on them in FPL, but that's another story. Yeah. I was excited because I was starting to think, if we can get Caicedo and then get a center back and then maybe get another mid in, then yeah, we can absolutely challenge for the league, because we know we need the CDM who was going to come in and boss that midfield, and we were worried that Lavia maybe wasn't that kind of a mid yet. So yeah, I think I was pretty. I was having a positive feeling for a while, but yeah, not there anymore.
No, and your sigh and slouch of your shoulders there is perfect body language, I think, for maybe at the moment how Liverpool fans feel, because it does look like that 110 million isn't actually enough, which is honestly, it is baffling. But again, we'll get onto all of that in a moment. Ben, waking up this morning, seeing that bid, seeing Joyce tweet perhaps, or BBC News, BBC Sport even put out on there. I got it on the app that came through as the news. So I was like, oh, it must be a done deal then. Again, like going back to the excitement of this morning, just let's focus on this morning for a moment. What did it feel like as a Liverpool fan to have a bid like that?
Do you know what? There's I feel completely empty, because I haven't felt, going to bed last night, I felt that I had listen, I'm 30 years old now, but I had that feeling that I used to get on Christmas Eve. I felt like something special was happening, and then waking up this morning, for me, it was a done deal. They always say don't count your chickens before they hatch, but I'm just not that sort of person. I'm counting my chickens. The second I see Moises Caicedo, Liverpool, 110 million, for me, it's a done deal. So it's a double-ended sword, this as well, because now I feel that the Caicedo deal, and everyone keeps telling me I say his name wrong, but the Caicedo deal isn't happening, and potentially missing out on Lavia. And do you know what makes it worse for me? It's just all the excitement that I've had this morning, the whole build up, the whole process and everything, from going to the point where I genuinely believed, which I know we did the predictions the other day, and I did put Liverpool to win the Premier League, but it was more of I'd never back against Liverpool. It was more of a wish. It was more of a hope. There was a period this morning where I genuinely would have put a good bet on Liverpool winning the Premier Moises Caicedo. And the double-ended sword that I was talking about belongs more to the fact that if it's not Caicedo and it's not Lavia, who else is there? Who else can we go out and get at that level? And to be honest with you, I genuinely, I'm really struggling to think of anyone. The only good thing to come out of this is we've got a load of money to play with, and yeah, I think that pretty much tells you where I'm at. Really not happy about the way things have panned out. Yeah, especially considering that we showed interest in him before all this kicked off. But anyways, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, I think, a lot of it was that complete elation, if I'm honest, and that elation turned very quickly into deflation, and that's sometimes the way of the world goes. But for me, it was elation mainly because I felt like a lot of people thinking this could be our VVD/Ali signing. This could be that one player that could revolutionise that Liverpool midfield. Now, don't get me wrong, McAllister and Szoboszlai look like absolute gems, and they really do in that Liverpool midfield. We always said, though, it wasn't enough. Maybe we needed Lavia to come in, maybe, Florentino Luis to come in to really solidify that dynamic, like the dynamic midfield, but also for it to be an absolute monster of a midfield in terms of winning possession back. And Caicedo can certainly come in and do that. However, things happened. It looked as if Todd perhaps pooed his pants a little bit, saw that Liverpool had a bid accepted, so he went straight back to Brighton. Really, I think he went straight back to Caicedo and said, listen, if you reject that Liverpool offer or say that you want to join Chelsea, we're going to match this bid or do this, and this, and we're going to offer you X amount of money more. I think fair play to Chelsea in terms of they have negotiated with Caicedo since May, and he does perhaps maybe feel some sort of, loyalty towards them. But James, I mean, is that enough? Is that enough for Caicedo perhaps to move? Okay, well, look, we've seen that Liverpool have done this. They wouldn't be speaking to you unless you were interested. So it's quite clear that Caicedo was interested in Liverpool. He must have been, otherwise Brighton maybe wouldn't have sanctioned the terms. I don't know. Again, something for us to talk about. But what is it, do you think, the crux that maybe perhaps switched that momentum from Liverpool to now Chelsea?
So there's probably, if you apply like a bit of common sense to it, there's probably a situation where Chelsea have got in touch with Caicedo today, last night, something like that, and said, we will pay you X more. This was our offer. We will up it by, let's say it's 50 grand a week. Just hypothetical, I don't know the amount of money. And he's got the Liverpool offer and he's gone and probably rejected the Liverpool offer. Let's say that was 150 grand a week. This is going to be 50 grand a week more. And then what people have then gone is, he's chosen Chelsea. Because if you look at the journalists that have come out with that story, it's all Chelsea journalists. It's all Chelsea preference journalists. And that's absolutely fine. That's their job. But they're getting briefed from somewhere. Liverpool journalists haven't, like the Liverpool knowledge journalists, haven't really come out and said very much yet. They've just said there's still interest in Chelsea and that might be his preference. And that might be his preference because they're going to pay him more money. And there is nothing wrong with that, by the way. If we all had jobs and a competitor came in and paid us an extra 50 grand a week more, we'd all be like, I'm going there. We're only upset because we're emotionally invested in this club. But footballers are footballers. And they're there to earn money. So he's gone back to Brighton and gone, look, I'm preferring this Chelsea thing because it's better for me. And from what we're seeing at the moment, Brighton are going, yeah, well, we're not accepting Chelsea because Liverpool's better for us. So I think, and Liverpool haven't removed their offer. So if Liverpool haven't removed the offer, he's not rejected Liverpool outright. He's just rejected potentially an offer. And I think that's where people are getting a bit lost because there's so much media hype and it's so easy to do a story and then a counter story. Sky Sports were arguing with themselves for 2 hours today, with Melissa saying one thing and Darnesh saying another. So we're in this weird situation where we don't know what's going on. There's loads of noise coming out from everybody. And we're unsure. I think there is a very real chance Chelsea cannot match what we've put up front. And they're hoping that they can convince Brighton to accept it. And we'll probably touch on this later, but I think Brighton needs some liquid cash because I think they need to pay back some of the director's loan and stuff. But yeah, so it's a really weird situation. And I think we'll see more in the next few days when it all calms down and it all comes out. But I really like the idea of him coming out at Stamford Bridge with a balloon and then him popping the balloon. And if it's red confetti, he signs for Liverpool. If it's blue confetti, he signs for Chelsea. And we all just find out that way. A bit like a baby. I would love that. But that probably won't happen.
I'd love it if he just came out in like a neutral kit, like just a black full tracksuit just before the game, and then he unzipped the tracksuit and whatever kit he was wearing was who he signed for, and then he starts that game.
Why not? Let's make it fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think both sets of fans deserve that, if I'm honest. So I think that absolutely. Mihai, do you think it is cash that Caicedo has been turned with, or do you think that he actually enjoys or likes the prospect of moving to London a little bit more? Because we have seen that with Alexis Sanchez. We have seen that with players in the past. Is it that London hype, that London move that he wants to go to, or is he literally, and again, I hold no grudge actually against him, if I'm honest, is it that he said, you know what, Chelsea have been trying to deal with me for 3 months, and I feel like I owe it to them to at least let them match the bid. And if they don't match the bid, I'm more than happy at Liverpool. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spoken to them in the first place.
Yeah. I wanted to say I have no clue, but my prediction is probably the latter. I think we know it's been an entire saga with him and Chelsea, and we don't know necessarily all their discussions that they've had. So I'm guessing, yeah, after you've spent, I don't know, 2 months negotiating with Chelsea, then you might kind of at least want to hear them out, I guess, before accepting another offer. Now, it's been, it's weird because in a way, I was worried about Caicedo because I think we remember in the winter he wanted to go to Arsenal, and then now in the summer he wanted to go to Chelsea. It looked like a done deal, and then we had an offer and he was fine with it. And loyalty, I don't know if I'd necessarily use the word for Chelsea in this case from him. But I think it's been kind of a long negotiation ongoing. They've had obviously longer to present a project. So I don't know. I don't think we could have necessarily just, a call from Jurgen that was, I don't know, 30 minutes long could have just done just as much as 2 months negotiating with Chelsea. I think it's basically the time frame. They've had more talks, more, chances to convince him. So I'm guessing it's that. But, as James said, it's so difficult because now you can say something now and then in the next morning it might not make sense because it's just so many, takes on Twitter, and there's so much stuff going on that you basically have no clue what's going on. Like, for example, I've seen that Chelsea can go higher because of the FFP. I've seen that like 3 or 4 times on Twitter, not necessarily from great sources, so I don't know if that's true. Chelsea might go and spend, I don't know, might match our offer for Caicedo and then go bid for Lavia and then Elation, and then if we've been wrong, and it's same with those people saying that it's because the FFP. So it's a tough one to take, I guess, because of the excitement that we've felt. So I don't know. I'm guessing it's like that. We're gonna have to wait.
We are indeed, and Ben looks like he's about to throw his computer through a window. So I'm going to go to you, Ben, and I'm going to ask you: does money talk in this situation?
I think Caicedo? Yeah, definitely. I do think there is. I think there's a number of factors. I think first and foremost, Chelsea have put in a lot of legwork, and maybe already he feels naturally, his mindset. Maybe because they've put in so much legwork, there's been a lot of. Sometimes we all do it. We envisage where we're going to be next week, next month, next year, and so on. And maybe that's played a part in it. But from what I've read today, I just can't help but feel that like the agent's playing such a big, a big part in the deal. I feel like it's not obviously naturally he would, but I just feel that. There's always more. I don't think it's just about what's right for Caicedo, but I think that the agent is kind of he's milking it for all he can. I just don't get it. That's what it baffles me because I don't understand why any football player. Take away the bias that I'm a Liverpool fan. If you look what Liverpool have got going on and what's happening at Chelsea, I don't take away the London factor. From his point of view, I don't see, for me, there's no strategy there in the transfer market. They're all over the place. I don't understand what is attracting him to Chelsea apart from the money, and that's why I come to the conclusion that yeah, maybe there might be something to do with the lead work, but money's definitely playing its part, because I just don't understand how you're choosing Chelsea over Liverpool. I just don't get it. Recent success, where if you're even just looking at the teams, the organisations, for me, Chelsea's just chaos. And if I was a football player, which I wasn't a bad one, but never got to the top level,
You weren't getting Caicedo money, no?
No. No, unfortunately, but it just doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I come to the conclusion that there must be some sort of financial reason there, because nothing else makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I think it was Melissa Reddy actually who speculated upon agency fees, and it's worthwhile perhaps noticing and also thinking about. I believe this is the last year that agents have an uncapped fee, so. His agent, Moises Caicedo agent, this is his last probably payday. And we heard that perhaps Chelsea have offered a bigger agency fee, which is perhaps why he's a little bit in his ear. James, as a player, do you think that plays any part whatsoever? If your agent is advising you, knowing that perhaps, yes, it's going to line your pocket, but maybe also there's an ulterior motive that it might line his too. Does he listen to that agent, or does he think, oh, I don't know, Liverpool are a bigger club than Chelsea, let's not forget that? Does he follow the agent, or does he actually follow Liverpool?
You're going to listen to your advisors. You chose that agent because you trust them. That agent got you from Ecuador to the Premier League, from 6K a week to 80K a week. You're now financially set for life, and they've guided you through this process. So, of course, you're going to listen to what they have to say. You're going to trust their judgment, because look at what they've done to get you here. Now, is the agent being selfish in this scenario? Don't know. Don't know what the agency fees are or anything like that. So I'm not going to comment too much on it, but it's obvious that the agent is preferring the Chelsea move, because if the agent preferred the Liverpool move, it'd all just go cruising through. But there's a big difference, 50K a week, for example, and I keep using that as the example because that's what we've heard reported and stuff like that. But if it's 300K to 200K, I mean, he could get crocked tomorrow by Curtis Jones in the first game of the season. Let's say he's signed for dinner, but he could get, and that could be it. And that would be, this contract would be enough for his entire life. So I kind of get it to a degree. I think he's young enough to start to think about actually performance legacy and what you want to achieve in the game. And this is where probably British people and players will go, well, what do you want to win? Could you win more with Liverpool? Could you win more with Chelsea, etc., etc.? And I think that probably is where we're coming from. And I think that's probably where he actually needs to back his own ability. Caicedo could win a lot of trophies. And yes, I think he could win them with Liverpool. Chelsea fans will think he could win them with Chelsea. But Chelsea are going to be in an uphill battle in the next few years when FFP catches up to them and rotations and stuff. So it's a risk. But maybe he's thinking, Chelsea, Real Madrid, they'll sell me for a lot. I don't know. There's a whole heap of things going on and so many moving plates. So my really long answer to go is I don't have a clue.
No. And you know what the beauty about all of this is? None of us do. Like, nobody on Twitter really has a clue. It's all down to whatever is happening in both boardrooms at Chelsea and Liverpool, and they're the people who know. And obviously, then it gets filtered down. At the moment, it's all speculation, but that's all that we can go off. I do want to say there are over 850 people in this stream right now, which is absolutely phenomenal. Please do make sure that you leave a like and a subscribe. It all goes back to you. We can, provide so much more with all of your likes and subscriptions. So thank you so much for joining us on your Friday night. I would also like to say as well, a thank you to Cyberzone, who I'm going to pose this question to Mihai. Do you think that actually Burley is outclassing FSG? I mean, we know Todd goes on a mad one every now and then. FFP is certainly going to catch up with them one day. We already know that they've got a fine. Does it look like if this Moises Caicedo deal goes through again? Just looking on Twitter, apparently Liverpool bid 111 or whatever it was, which was $1 million more. so they couldn't be outbidded because they knew that Chelsea could only bid, say, 110. So therefore, according to Brighton, the highest bidder gets it, which is very shrewd, which is why now Chelsea are trying to offload players or like try and give players to Brighton as part of an exchange to try and sweeten the deal a little bit more. Do you think that the Chelsea board have outclassed or outfoxed the Liverpool board at this moment in time if a Caicedo deal goes through, or do you perhaps think it's the other way around?
Depends at the end of the window, though, doesn't it, Richie? Do you not think?
Absolutely.
Like, we're going to know who's outplayed who in the next week or so. And either they'll have done it or we'll have done it. But I don't think it's Bowley versus FSG. It's the recruitment team versus the recruitment team. They're given budgets and rules and regulations to work within. So it's either this Jorg come out of retirement, do a few bits versus whoever's doing it at Chelsea. So it's probably more that, but we'll see.
I don't know Todd Bowley too well, but for me, from what I've seen of him so far, he does have this reckless streak. Even going back, I think he made a comment, didn't he, when Chelsea were playing Real Madrid, and he, before the biggest game of the season, he came out and said, "We'll beat Real Madrid 3-1," and he does have that reckless streak in him, and I feel like he's that sort of person who will make a decision based on his heart over his head, and I think that's what they could be doing. But I also think, and correct me if I'm wrong, as I say, many of you know a lot more about the business side of football than me, but I also think that Chelsea know that something's coming their way in terms of sanctions, in terms of transfer bans, or and now they're just at the point where they're like, right, let's buy now and then deal with the consequences later. In other words, the consequences are already coming, so let's just get away with what we can now.
Yeah, I actually think that's the case as well. I think Chelsea know there's something coming because there's no way it's not with the way they've been doing business. So I just think they're gonna, basically deal with it later. They've stacked their squad as many. They've also got some good, talented young players as well. So it's not like they've done bad business all around. But it's, I think, and to go back to the question, I think it depends on what you mean by outclassed. If you mean they've spent a lot more money, then yes, they have. Good or bad now, I don't know. I just don't think Liverpool will. I choose to believe that Liverpool will not let both Caicedo and Lavia go, or go to another club. We've just spent way too many resources with Lavia. We already have an agreement with him. So, yeah.
I think I pulled up this just a minute ago to let everybody else. This is breaking now from Felix Johnston, who says that Chelsea want the Liverpool bid removed before they bid because Caicedo wants Chelsea. And the reason for that is they can't afford him due to FFP. So, Liverpool can't necessarily remove a bid. Liverpool aren't going to back out of that because why would they? I think it makes absolute sense for Liverpool to hold that bid and make Chelsea pay more, and for Liverpool to perhaps maybe get a little bit of a consolation and go, actually, Chelsea, if you want to outbid us, Brighton have accepted our bid, you've got to better it or equal it. And if Chelsea can't match that, that's it. I think the massive pull in all of this is Moises Caicedo himself, because if he outrightly turns around to Brighton and says, I don't want to go to Liverpool and I'm not going to go to Liverpool, then Brighton either have an unhappy player on their hands or 100 million. And Bloom is not, a silly man. Of course, he's going to accept the latter. Sorry, Ben.
And surely there's got to have been some conversation between Liverpool and Caicedo, because I just feel that it's bizarre that knowing Liverpool, that had something have been put across to them in a certain way, they'd have been out of this already anyway. So I do still get the feeling that Caicedo's really kind of said, listen, my preference is Chelsea, but for this reason maybe, but I'm not against a move to Liverpool. And that's kind of where I feel that it's at.
I don't think it's a Liverpool-Chelsea thing. I think we're making it a Liverpool-Chelsea thing. I think he said to Liverpool, look, I would rather have this 200 grand a week contract than your 150 grand a week contract. Therefore, if Brighton are happy with this bid, I will probably sign for the 200 grand a week contract, unless you can match it. And they've gone, well, fine. We get it. We're not going to break our wage structure for you. I don't think Liverpool would pay more than 180 grand a week, because that's the max Fab was on. That's what Trent's on. That's our structure, and we've got a bonus structure. So I think it's as simple as that. I don't think it's a Liverpool-Chelsea thing. I think he's probably just said, I would rather take this higher paying wage contract, and if it gets me there, it gets me there. If it gets me there, it gets me there. And I'm comfortable either way. And that's absolutely fine. Like I said it earlier, and then because obviously we've got so many more people in it now, it's fine for him to make the best financial decision for his family. That is the whole purpose. He is not a Liverpool fan. He's not a Chelsea fan. I think he's a little bit of a Real Madrid fan. So it's absolutely fine for him to make the best financial decision for his family. But I don't think Chelsea can do it financially. So that's why they want us to remove this bid. I was talking on our group chat earlier. The Brighton have £400 million worth of director debt. So their owner has given Brighton £400 million of his own money. And the club is worth around about 270 million, maybe about 350 million now they're in Europe. So this financial year, they're going to have to equalise that some way. So if Liverpool have gone, I'll tell you what, we will give you 50 million of it up front and we'll pay you the rest over a period of time. And Chelsea have gone, we can give you £2.50 up front, but we can match Liverpool's bid. They're going to go, no, because if their owner, who's only worth 1.2 billion, needs money, he's got to get it out of Brighton, because the 400 billion in debt, that's the only way you can get tax-free and interest-free money back. So I think this whole Caicedo thing could be related to him needing to release some money back for either financial constraint and financial law reasons, or because he might need some money. And therefore, there is a really big chance, unless Chelsea can get us to walk away, they can either match our bid, but they can't match our financial profile that we've put together for them. So I think Chelsea is screwed unless we withdraw.
Yeah, which is what would be absolutely ridiculous if Liverpool did withdraw. And like I say, I'll just twist the knife in even more if I was anything to do with Liverpool recruitment or ownership and say, nah, that bid stays. Thank you again to Cyberzone, who's donated money to the cause. And we are going to talk about Lavia. I absolutely promise we will talk about Lavia. We're still trying to unpick this Caicedo conundrum, this madness that's gone on in the past 24 hours. I promise you, Cyberzone, we will definitely get to that point. But thank you again. There are over 950 people now in this channel. Thank you so much for joining us on your Friday night. Please do make sure that you hit a like and subscribe. We are so close to 8,500 subscribers. So high on the likes as well. So thank you so much for that. And please make sure that you do like, subscribe and comment as well, because we do try to get through the content that you say and put in there. I do want to talk briefly about what, I don't want to go on it too much, but Caicedo offers Liverpool what? And that's what I want the question to be. I know that we touched on a stream midday today when it did look like that deal was going through, but, it's not dead yet. As a Liverpool fan, we always have to have hope. Never write Liverpool off. And AC Milan and Barcelona will be testament to that. But it's not dead in the water quite yet. And Ben, I'm going to go to you. Moises Caicedo offers Liverpool
stability. Stability first and foremost. I mean, even I know I've posted it on the group quite a few times during pre-season that defensively we look a mess, but you put Caicedo in front of that defence, then there's a lot of mopping up, and there's a lot of goals, there's a lot of gameplay that doesn't happen. And I think that's what he brings, that pocket of space between the defenders and himself, that he'll own that space. And for me, I wouldn't be so worried about signing another defender if we had Caicedo, because I think he will offer a lot of protection to the defence. And it's disheartening to think that the qualities that he brings, it's such a game changer that it might not be on the table. So, but yeah, for me, it's the stability that he brings to the back line, and the protection that he offers to us defensively.
Excellent, really good analysis there, as always. Mihai, what are you thinking? What does Moises Caicedo offer for Liverpool? Do we need a Moises Caicedo? Silly question, obviously, of course we do. But what is it that he brings that we so desperately need?
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot that Ben has just said. Obviously, he offers a lot of protection. You need someone to cover that defense, and Fabinho did it so well for us. For I think 1 or 2 seasons, he was probably the best DM in the world, and that's obviously helped our game a lot. And that's why we've been, personally, let's say, I've been a bit, worried when looking at watching the games in preseason, because okay, it's preseason. Usually I don't like to go into it that much and to judge necessarily the way we're going to do by friendlies, but we've been conceding a lot of goals, and not necessarily from against great opposition, and not necessarily when playing a second team or something like that. So having Caicedo offers a bit of a protection, lets us maybe build better from the flanks, and not be as worried, because whenever I think about why we need a Caicedo, I remember the game against Spurs at Anfield in the last season. We've been caught out so many times. I remember with Trent being upfield, and then Konate against Son, or in a number of situations. They've had a lot of counters, and yeah, probably that's why. We'll just see how it plays out. I guess we desperately need someone like him. We never thought we would go for him. Now that we've gone, it hurts even more that we might miss out on him. But yeah, it is what it is. We definitely need at the end. But as James said in the beginning, good news, we have the money. Bad news, so does everyone else. So now if we go for, I don't know, Florentino Luis, let's say from Benfica, we know that they don't really sell unless they have to, and now they don't really have to, so they might negotiate an even higher price than they would normally. So
and that's where Liverpool have left themselves. They've sort of shown their hand, thinking that they could get Caicedo over the line, because obviously they must have had communications with him. Yes, he wants to join. Okay, we'll put in this bid, and then obviously Chelsea have come back, and that's really caught Liverpool a little bit with their pants down in terms of showing how much money they had, because Liverpool have done very well for so long, pretended to be that poor rich club, and being very stringent and strategic with transfer fees. Now it's all open for the world to see, and that Florentino Luis bid, or Lavia, who we will get onto in a moment, bid will probably now go up by about 10 million. So we'll see how that plays out. Matty Gorman, thank you so much as well for your donation, who says let Chelsea pay 30 million more than what they wanted to. Again, can they even afford to do that, James? You're our financial expert within LFC transfer room. Can they afford to do that? It's so difficult knowing what FFP even is. Does it exist even? Because, or does it even matter if they break it? Because if they get a fine and a slap on the wrist, which they've already got, by the way, okay, well, so what?
So there's a real chance that they're going to get a transfer ban. And that's probably...
Which they've already had. Remember, they've not had that long ago.
But they're probably on for another one. So you need to get it done now, because they know what's going to happen. So they'll probably get a transfer. So if we can get the deals over the line now, we'll take whatever pain comes. But it's really interesting, because like reports coming out, Jacob Skyenberg, that they've 55 million for Lavia. So if they can't get to our price for Caicedo, how have they gone 5 million over our price? And how have they gone 7 million over their own price that they supposedly bid for Lavia? So there is a chance here that they've just walked away from this Liverpool deal, from this Caicedo deal, and they're just trying. It could be media or anything like that. The other thing that's in my head is we wanted Colwill. We really wanted him. We wanted to put some money in for him. We were prepared to pay, and they said no. Are we just upping their auctions so that they've got to sell him to us? I don't think we are, but are we? Could we just be playing? Could we be screwing them over because they've refused to sell us a player that we want? I mean, we'll only find out in the fullness of time, but it's a real thing that's playing in my mind because we really wanted that player. Like, it was known we wanted him. And they were like, we're not selling him. And then suddenly we're in a bidding war. Yes, I know we both need sixes, but I don't know. Financially, I think they're just going to try and get a ban.
And like I said, they've had a ban before. They came out of it. They don't seem too fussed. If the sooner the better for them. They're out of Europe this year, so perhaps the sooner the better. And then they could really build for the future with the squad that they're building. 162 likes so far. We have so much more to talk about. Let's please do try to get to 200 likes. That would be phenomenal on this Friday evening. So thank you again so much. I am a star in these comments, by the way. So like so many people are asking us questions. I'm going to come on to those bits. I just want to get the crux of everything out first before we move on. But I promise you, everyone who is tuned in and asking these questions, I have starred these messages. So we definitely will be answering them. So please do make sure that they are coming. We're also only 60 subscribers off 8,500. So please do make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment into the channel. Final piece, really, in terms of Caicedo, because we have spoken to him now for about 41 minutes, and over 800 of you have consistently listened to us. It will be what it will be, whatever comes. Mihai, in terms of Caicedo, where do you think this deal goes? And I'm going to put everybody on the spot of where they think it goes as well. So boys, get your thinking caps on. Where do you think this goes? Because Brighton want this deal really done and dusted 12 hours ago. Chelsea have only got a certain amount of time really to get this done. And it looks as though whilst they're trying to offload players in terms of exchanging players, it looks like they can't match Liverpool's fee. So where does Caicedo end up?
I might not be the perfect guy to ask because I'm usually pessimistic by nature, but I'm not really good with predictions. Just so you know, James, I'm hopefully wrong with every one of them. I think he goes Chelsea. I think it's been dragged out way too much.
Fair enough. Fair enough comment. Ben?
Well, there's no way he's staying at Brighton. I think De Zerbi was pretty clear about that. So I think he said Moises who, something like that earlier. So that's not happening. Listen, my heart really hopes that some point come May, June next year, I'm watching. I'm looking at a stage. I've got Elation playing LA to his left, and Moises Caicedo is stood to his right. But I do think that Chelsea will get him. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just so low ebb right now on the whole situation, and I'm kind of just planning for accepting the worst and hoping for the best. But I do think he will end up at Chelsea. I think that if he was going to be a Liverpool player, I think it would have got done a lot faster. And I think that I know Chelsea are close with Lavia, but if they had to, if they had to pull out of the Lavia deal to get the Caicedo deal done, I feel that they would. So I just feel that the momentum is with them. Stranger things have happened. But I do believe that he will become a Chelsea player, sadly.
I think Liverpool get him. I think we get him. I'm going to fuck it. I'll say it. I think we sign him. I think Chelsea sign Lavia. And I think that they'll go back in for Tyler Adams because like Chelsea and they're the two that they'll end up getting. And the reason I think we'll get him is because I don't think they'll be able to match the financial profile of the deal that we've put together. So I do not think Brighton will accept any Chelsea offer. I also think Brighton are quite happy to screw Chelsea over because I think they're just as annoyed as we are. So it's not that the player doesn't want to go there. I think probably he does want that little bit more money. I just don't think that Brighton will accept Chelsea's offer unless Chelsea can match our financial profile we've put together. But I don't think that they can. I think there is a very technical reason we've put 111, and I think probably our accountants have know what they're doing, and it's either going to be a disaster class or a masterclass. But part of me thinks if we've gone this big, it's because we know we've got them over a barrel.
Either way, there are 882 people right now in that view count, and I might turn a few off here, so I do apologise in advance to the channel and to everybody else as well. If Moises Caicedo has turned around and says, I'm not really keen on Liverpool, is he a player that you want in the first place? And is there any reason for Liverpool to actually say, okay, well, you know what, you wanted Chelsea, but we'll still have you? Because we've seen Klopp do this in the past. Or is it the fact that actually we're perhaps, or I'm perhaps being too harsh as a Liverpool fan and saying, we don't want Liverpool. What? That's crazy. Just because we're so passionate about him, about our club. And if we would never reject our club, maybe we're being too biased towards that as well, Mahai. Like maybe that I'm trying to think, okay, well, I've never rejected Liverpool. But if anyone does reject Liverpool, I don't want him in this club in the first place.
Yeah, but I think...
Yeah, sorry, me.
No, it's fine. You can go first.
Yeah, I think that, in my opinion, I just genuinely feel that there's an underlying reason. There's got to be something. There's got to have been a communication between Caicedo and Liverpool for the bid to still be on the table. There's got to be something there. We could spend forever trying to figure out what it is, but there's something there. And for me, listen, all I want is for Liverpool to win trophies. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what we spend. I just want Liverpool to be as successful as possible on the pitch and off the pitch. And if that means, being, taking on a player that turned us down for us to have the best chance of winning trophies, then I will sell my soul for Liverpool to win trophies. It's easy to sit here now and say, "Oh, I don't want Caicedo." He said no to us, but I would much. I'd be a lot more confident in Liverpool winning trophies this season with Caicedo. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Even if he said, "I want Chelsea," and we can still take him, you take him. Purely because by taking Caicedo, this isn't a quick. It's not only is it just a quick fix, but you are implementing a midfield there that is going to be around for the next several years. A midfield that can only get better with age. So even if he point blank says, "Nope, I want Chelsea," and Chelsea can't afford to come up with the dough, then for me it's irrelevant. We go and we get him. The best players, whatever the price takes, whatever it takes to ensure that they're playing at Anfield and we are winning something at the end of the season.
The players got plausible deniability as well. The players actually not come out and said anything, and there's no quotes. It's just noise at the moment, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, I would prefer to be paid 25% more than what I'm currently getting paid. I would work for a company that pays me more. Yeah, that's my preference, but there's nothing concrete that's come out, so it's really easy for him to backtrack and get Liverpool fans on side. Like Ecuador have already tweeted "You'll never walk alone," haven't they? With Caicedo and a picture of Caicedo. So I mean, there's all kinds of chaos going on. So I we'll find out in the fullness of time, as I keep saying. But I can't see it. I can't see them making the money work. And I saw a comment earlier, someone saying, like a Chelsea streamer saying, they think they're going to get a transfer ban for 1 or 2 years, which is what we've said. So they're just going nuts now, which makes sense. But we will see.
We will. And what's really interesting as well is that people are now putting in the comments, again, I'm doing this, so I can't see what the Twitterverse is doing. But Elise and Lavia have apparently both agreed terms with Chelsea and deals are done, etc., etc. So they might just be going, Todd's just going full out. Okay, well, let's just get the team for the next 10 years. We're going to get a 10-year transfer ban and let's see what happens. So there is chaos going over at Chelsea. I owe to be a Chelsea fan. Let's move on then. slightly from Caicedo. I'm sure that we will get back onto him because this whole stream is about Caicedo. And again, there's 950 of you in here, which is phenomenal numbers. So thank you so much for your Friday night delight in the Liverpool transfer room. Please make sure that you do like, subscribe, and comment. I will be at really quick fire questions later on to the chaps with all of your comments and questions as well. So please do put an actual question mark in there, and we will get to them. Lavia then. James, it looks as though Chelsea have agreed terms with Southampton for Lavia. They have got and hit that magical 50 million mark that Saints have been asking Liverpool for the past, 6 or 7 weeks. And Liverpool have been dilly-dallying, and we perhaps know why, because maybe they were waiting for a break in the market for something like this Caicedo bid to happen. Chelsea now, though, have hit that 50 mark, which means Liverpool will perhaps have to meet that 50 mark unless Chelsea withdraw their offer. Can't really see them doing that, whether they get Caicedo or not. How do you feel if you're Romeo Lavia in all of this, who has been essentially loyal to Liverpool, saying that he wants to play for Liverpool? He wasn't cup tied. He was out of the squad on the opening day and in the cup. He's not really featured too much in pre-season until Liverpool obviously then ramped up their interest. How do you feel if you're him? And do you think there's any chance perhaps that Lavia feels disgruntled by any of this?
I think it's really hard on the lad. I think he's been used as a bit of a pawn, and I think there's a knock-on effect to everything. Sorry, that's the dog. People talk about transfers not having a knock-on effect, and they do. Sometimes, like, money starts to move around. Everyone's got a fixed budget, and they don't want to necessarily get loans out, etc., etc. So I really feel for Lavia, because I think he's been done a little bit dirty in this. Like, he's been used as a pawn. But there is a very real chance Liverpool backed out last week when they got their £45 million bid rejected immediately, because we haven't really seen anything from Liverpool and Lavia since. It's all been media. It's all been what we've been saying. It's all been media noise more than Liverpool noise. So there's a very real chance that we actually took that step back when they said no. And so that's potentially what's happened. It's just, if you think about the Lavia deal as an entire, it's very away from Liverpool's process. Like, all very public, all very everyone knew. It's almost like it's like a red rag to a bull. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Why would we do that? Because we never do that. Look at the Sobo deal, look at the McAllister deal. It just happened.
And it does make sense, doesn't it? Because, especially in our chat, how many of us have been turbo typing, just pay the 5 mil, just pay the 4 mil. It's what you've seen on Twitter, just pay it, just pay it, just pay it. We've all been shouting down our phones. We've been, it's what we've all been saying. And then if you think about the timing, it really does make sense. Why did Liverpool just not pay the extra 3 million, 4 million, 5 million to close, to get the deal done? The reason was because they had the intention of going in for Caicedo. And that makes sense to me on why they never just stumped up the cash straight away on the 50 million mark. What's interesting though, while we're on that subject, is, and I know I've been a pessimist, and I'm not changing my mind. It's this roller coaster of a ride that we're all on. What's interesting is to see how Liverpool will react in the Lavia deal, because I think, just listening to what James was saying a little earlier, the inaction may give something away in terms of Liverpool's thought process in letting Lavia in not getting involved in the deal between Lavia and Chelsea. Maybe, in their thought process is, we've got him on the hook. The fact that they haven't, they're not pushing the Lavia deal right now, and they seem to be kind of, let him go.
We are 38 subscribers away from 8,500. So thank you so much. There are over 1,000 of you in the stream listening to us on your Friday night. So thank you so, so much. It's been an absolute bedlam day for Liverpool Football Club. And, for all of you tuning in and putting your comments in, it's absolutely phenomenal. We're over nearly 220 likes. So please push for those live likes as well, because it does do so much for the channel. In terms of Lavia, what's next for this boy? Because he seems to have done everything possible to push and move through, James, and it seems like he's done everything right. And you said it was harsh on him earlier. I completely agree with you. For me, and again, you can ask me this question. You could have asked me this last week and would have given you the same answer. For me, Lavia is the one that I actually wanted before a Caicedo bid came in. Now, I'm not just saying that on the benefit of hindsight. I did say that last week as well, because I thought at the time it meant if we had Lavia, we could probably go and get a centre-back as well. Whereas I think a Caicedo perhaps means that we just get Caicedo and that only. Do you feel that maybe if you're Lavia, does it now feel a little bit deflated, this move to Liverpool, thinking that all Liverpool fans were going, well, we wanted Caicedo?
No, because we're acting like what Lavia sees is what happens on social media, and that's not necessarily the case. We have to remember that if Liverpool are still in, none of these deals happen where you agree a fee with the club and then you talk to the player and his representatives. The clubs and player representatives are in constant communication and stuff like that, and then they agree a fee and stuff like that. So always there's communication with the player. So if Liverpool are still seriously interested in Lavia and they are still wanting to have that communication, they'll be in touch with Lavia to say, look, we're trying to get this bigger deal over the line first, because if we can get that over the line, then we can come back and we can do this, and we've got the money to this. And anyone who plays football or has been part of a transfer or anything like that will all understand that it's a house of cards. The people have got money and budgets and financing, and they're wanting money from over here to go to over there and stuff like that. So there is a very real chance, it's harsh on Lavia this, because ideally he should be moved and he should be integrating within a club, whether that's Chelsea, whether it's Liverpool, whether it's somebody else. But anyone that Lavia is seriously connected with will be in communication with him constantly, and they'll be updating him as to what's going on. So he's more informed than all of us about his own transfer dealings. That's the best way that I can say it.
Mihai, if you are Lavia, do you feel that maybe perhaps you've been used as a little bit of a pawn, or do you think, okay, well, I'm willing to wait a little bit, I've been willing to wait this long, I'm 19 years old, I know that this is the best step in my career, or do you think, actually, no?
I think it depends on what's been discussed between him and probably Jurgen. If Jurgen told him, hang on, 2 days later we're gonna throw in the money, we're gonna sign you, and then the lad sees we're signing, we're offering 111 for Caicedo, yeah, he might feel like a pawn, but I doubt that's been the case. I don't know. And again, now with Lavia, I think I've seen the chat go crazy, and I know it's extremely difficult to stay rational and not get emotional right now. But the truth is, Chelsea have agreed terms with Southampton, not with Lavia. We've already agreed terms with Lavia. So now it depends. Again, it's on the player. And, if the player wants to go, it kind of reminds me of the Caicedo deal a bit. If the player wants to go for us, wants to sign for us, and he says to Southampton for Liverpool, which has been the case for the past few weeks, then, yeah, we could go and maybe match the offer, and then that's that. It's not like Chelsea have signed Caicedo and Lavia this evening, and it's all done. We kind of have to wait for a bit. I do feel bad for Lavia. We've had like 3 bids rejected, and it's all been like 2-3 million above the other. And with Caicedo, we've just thrown in above 100 million. So I guess, yeah, he could feel deflated, but then again, it depends. I think Jurgen is one of the best managers in the world in terms of man management. I think if he's talked to Lavia, I think he knows by now what we want to do. So we're just going to have to wait and find out.
Yeah, I think we are. And it's a waiting game. And that's the most frustrating thing. Because like I said, 12 hours ago, it looked like it was absolutely nailed on. Ben, with Lavia, then I'm going to ask you the same question. What does he offer Liverpool? Because we perhaps know a lot more about Lavia in the past 3 weeks than we did initially. So I'm sure that all of us have been doing our homework, all of us have been doing our research about Lavia. I personally am really excited for a Lavia signing, regardless of a Moises Caicedo signing. Ben, what does Lavia then offer Liverpool?
He brings legs to the midfield. He brings legs. He's a lot of energy, a lot of intensity. And similar to what I was saying about Caicedo in terms of the fact that he can protect the back four, but more so his intensity that he plays with. He seems to have that. I always call it that bite in his play from what I've seen from him last season. So mainly the intensity, that and the legs and the energy that he brings that we were missing last season. But obviously, not just that, the fact that he can protect the defence. It's a bit strange, isn't it? Because just listening to what Mihai was saying there, it's roles reversal, isn't it? You've kind of got Chelsea have done the legwork on Caicedo, and Liverpool seem to have done the legwork on Lavia. So it will be very interesting to see how it pans out in that essence as well. But for me, it's more to do with like the intensity that he'll bring and the energy that he'll bring to the midfield in terms of the answer to the question.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted saying, told Liverpool now considering to walk away from Moises Caicedo deal, more to follow. So it does look like Liverpool are considering to walk away from the deal. And to be fair, I don't know if they'll withdraw a bid, but I wouldn't blame them if they walked away, if Caicedo was turned around and said he doesn't want Liverpool, he only wants Chelsea. Mihai, was that the same idea that you were going to say? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Just wanted to mention.
Again, lads, do all of us agree? Quick fire question, yes or no? Should Liverpool walk away right now if Caicedo says he wants Chelsea?
No.
No.
I also
Fabrizio Romano's a really well connected across all clubs football journalist, but he isn't a Liverpool specialist. He's not very overly close to Liverpool. I think if he's told that, great. Where's he told it from? I think when it comes from Joyce and Ornstein, that's probably where we've got an indication of what Liverpool are doing. And normally they say anything to do with Liverpool way before. So it's interesting because he may have heard it from Chelsea sources, because I know he's really well connected in at Chelsea, Romano. So, but I don't know.
And the flip side to that, obviously, is that this could be Liverpool turning the screw. This could be Liverpool saying, we want movement, we want an answer, we want to know what's going on, we want more clarity, otherwise we will walk away from this deal. So maybe that could be a two-way street. That it could be Liverpool could be prepared to walk away from it, or Liverpool are applying pressure to get some movement. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, and like James quite rightly said, there's no way that Fab has any inside knowledge about Liverpool Football Club, because he never has before. It has always come from primarily Paul Joyce, but there has been others before him. Ornstein looks like the go-to guy as well. So it's it's hotting up and it's changing every minute, and we're so grateful for 739 of you now to join us over an hour. So thank you so much for that. If not Lavia, and if not Caicedo, who's next, James? I'm going to put you on the spot, so I really apologise because I didn't even put like a layup to this. There are a few names that we could mention, and I'll fill in the gaps, but it's not my show, it's our show. So, James, who do you think could even come in and fill that void?
It's a tricky one, because I'm not Lavia's more a developing player than he is ready for a top six team. He got relegated with Southampton. I think Luis at Sporting's probably a good option. I would potentially look at going back to Manu Kone, although I'm not a massive fan of his. He's good at tackling, but similar to Lavia, his link-up passing and play isn't spectacular. So probably more Luis. Or who's the guy from Southampton? That's another Lewis as well, isn't it? Douglas Luiz. I would probably look at those sort of options. Then I would. I can't think of anyone else that's really available and we could get our hands on.
And this is the whole issue, isn't it? Like Dave said this probably now about like 45 minutes ago. You know, what will Liverpool do with the bid? Take it in or keep it in or take away? Hopefully they will keep it in. And he also asked that a little bit later, what does he do? What do we do with the money? There's not that many options available, which is why Southampton can say, look, you want 50 million, because there doesn't seem too many. Florentino Luis, Douglas Luiz for Aston Villa, who's okay. Like, I think he's done a good job in the Premier League, but is he someone who's going to light the world on fire? Is he somebody who's going to come in and go, actually, yeah, I'm glad we got that bloke because he's better than Caicedo and he'll be better than Lavia? Maybe not. Ben?
I mean, take away the ones that James has named there. I don't think I've got many left, but I think there's as crazy as it sounds, if it's not Lavia and if it's not Caicedo, which it's not looking likely, I think there's a real potential that there might not be a number 6 coming in. I think that it could be a case of, okay, let's work with what we've got and let's assess our options in January. And I know that sounds bizarre, but it wouldn't surprise me if neither of them came in. We focused on the back line this window. I think that's probably the most likely outcome at this point if we weren't to get Caicedo and if we weren't to get Lavia. So my answer, I suppose, giving you the answer to the question is, I don't think we would. I don't think there's anyone.
The stopgaps like Amrabat and Paulinho, isn't there, from Fulham, but they're not Liverpool long-term signings, so it wouldn't kind of make sense that we go for those because it looks like we're in the process of a rebuild, and you don't go from potentially having the most athletic midfield in the Premier League if you were to get Caicedo, McAllister and Szoboszlai to then putting in a workhorse, positioning. It kind of changes how the midfield goes. Tyler Adams, someone's mentioned that, but it needs to be relentless energy. It seems like that's what Klopp's going for.
Yeah, and rightly so as well. Klopp's squad always worked with legs in the midfield. The legs were the workhorses in midfield, and that's why there was never ever so much pressure for the midfielders to score, because he knew the front three would score and the fullbacks would assist, and that's what he's going for. And Lavia, Caicedo, Luis, they all offer those legs in midfield. Andrade from Fluminense is not necessarily a 6. I'm just going to bring up this from Yasir as well. He's not necessarily a 6. I like him as well. I think he's more of a Thiago transition player, perhaps as well, from what I've seen of him over the past couple of weeks as well. Shouts out here for Kimmich as well. So there are options out there, whether they're realistic or not. There are still options out there. Where then do you think we've got Chelsea at the weekend? Of course, we've got Chelsea at the weekend because this whole deal is between Liverpool and Chelsea, isn't it? So the way that the cookie crumbles is sometimes the best way. Mihai, what does it bring then for Liverpool when they face Chelsea on Sunday, regardless? Because it does sort of look like either way, Caicedo is probably not going to be ready. So whether he signs for Liverpool tonight or whether he signs for Chelsea tonight, he's probably not going to be in that starting lineup. Where does that leave Liverpool then in terms of a 6?
I don't know. It leaves us vulnerable. It's luckily for us, we're playing Chelsea, who are in kind of a similar position to us. But yeah, it's going to be probably one of those games when you have like 4 or 5 goals scored in, 60 minutes. I don't know. I'm not massively excited. All that enthusiasm after the Szoboszlai signing kind of faded away. I don't know. Honestly, I think we can win against them, obviously. I think we are going to win. But and I don't know, in the short term, even in the short term, I'm not really optimistic. if we're not going to sign a mid. And just to answer the question earlier, I think the thing now is that nobody is going to seem exciting for us if it hasn't been Caicedo, if it's not going to be Lavia, the ones we were linked. Lavia we've been linked with for a long time. If we're talking, if I'm saying Florentino Luis, if I'm saying Amrabat, no one's going to be like, oh yeah, that's the guy that's going to boss our midfield. No, we're not going to be excited for anyone right now because of the state we are in. I do think we need to get someone in, though, as soon as possible because, see, the last comment basically sums it up. We're fucked if we don't. So, yeah.
Okay. Ben, who are you going to play at 6 against Chelsea? Assuming we play a 6.
I think it'll be McAllister, to be honest with you. I know Jones. Jones played 6 in one of the pre-season friendlies, and it never worked out too good. But I think it'll be McAllister, and Gakpo will drop into midfield. So I think we'll go with Max Szoboszlai and Cody Gakpo. I think that's what we'll probably go with. I think that's the most likely the most likely midfield for me.
Excellent. And with everybody else as well, please do put your midfield free because this is so I don't know, so speculative at the moment as in what might happen. So please do put your midfield 3 in now, and I'll bring up as many people's comments as possible. James, who's your midfield 3?
Side note, Bobby Firmino's just got a hat-trick.
Yes, Firmino.
Some good news. He's having a great time. My midfield 3 is McAllister in the 6, with Curtis Jones probably playing like a double pivot, like what Jones did for the England under-21s. I think some of the deep passing from McAllister was really quite good along ground and stuff like that with Trent going aerial, which puts Sobo in like the more advanced 8-10 position. And then I think we play Gakpo as a false 9, filtering into the left with Sobo on the right. So it's almost like a 4-2-2-2 type position. I'm with Gary, Jones, Mac, Dom, because I think the reason I don't go for Gakpo fully in midfield is I don't think his defensive work and his high pressing work as good as a central midfielder as they are at false 9. And I think what we want to do is run them off the park. So I don't anticipate Nunes to start. I anticipate Gakpo being the false 9 position. Salah, Diaz. And that's harsh on Jota, by the way, because he has been finishing on fire.
Yeah, no, I thought Jota would start. My thought process behind the Gakpo in the midfield was that I think that I know Jackson's been on fire for Chelsea pre-season, but there's nothing really going forward for them that worries me too much. So I feel that even though it's obviously at the bridge, I still feel that we will control the pace of that game. Which is why I put Gakpo in midfield.
I think you speak absolute sense. The Bayern, the last game, Damsgaard, maybe look that. It's always like the game before pre-season, which gives you maybe perhaps that inclination of what he's going to go with. And I thought Gakpo actually did tremendously well in that midfield role, considering he's a false 9. I wouldn't want to start him there all the time. Absolutely not. But he did okay. I personally would like to see McAllister as 6, Jones and Szoboszlai. And that's purely based on the back of, McAllister is such an intelligent footballer. I think he could play anywhere in that midfield and doing a tremendous job. I don't think that's his best position. He's best, breaking down that low block. He's best in the transition. And I think he's going to be signing the season. As James will tell you, that's what I voted for as well in our predictions. In terms of the midfield, then I'm going to bring up. I said I promise you that I do get through these as quickly as possible. When is Bajcetic back healthy? It looks as if he was back in training with Thiago. They're best buds, aren't they? And they seem to be getting on really well, which is great for Bajcetic. In terms of when he's back healthy, though, as in when he can play, I'm not really too sure, if I'm honest, because I think a lot depends on trying to miss that pre-season. And a lot of that will come down to, actually when he can play. What do you, James, envision for Bajcetic this season? Because we did see that Liverpool actually didn't want to bid 50 for Lavia, because Bajcetic is actually only in terms of a couple of years behind him for development anyway.
Again, that's the media talk about Liverpool don't want to bid because Bajcetic. And then when you look at it from the start, there was talk that Bajcetic is going to move to an 8, maybe the long-term Thiago replacement. But now everyone's talking about Andre being the long-term Thiago replacement and him coming in January and stuff like that. So this is the thing. Lavia is 19, he's developing. He's not necessarily, he shouldn't be starting for a top 4 club fighting for the Champions League and Premier League. He's not there yet. He's just got relegated. Lavia should have been the developing player to come in behind the experienced. Should have been Fabinho, but obviously we sold him. Or it should have been, let's say, a Caicedo with Lavia as his backup. So Bajcetic is the same as that. He's still developing. He's going to find his ideal position. He was playing centre-back in the academy, moved to the first team, started playing midfield. Like Trent was playing midfield in the academy, moved to the first team, started playing right-back. So I don't think we're fully going to know where Bajcetic is going to end up until he gets a run of games, and that might take 3 or 4 seasons. I mean, look at Curtis Jones. Was he a left winger? Was he a 10? Was he a this, that, and the other? He's an 8. He's a late into the box, number 8, playing in midfield. That's his position for Liverpool moving forward. And how many years has that taken until that's been nailed down? So we're not going to know on him. And if you're a Liverpool and the top 1% of the top 1% clubs in world football, you shouldn't be gambling on children. You should have a top 1% of a top 1% player with a developing player behind them who may take their position in 2, 3, 4 years. That should be our model. And that's, unfortunately, we've let Fabinho go, and now we're having to find that main player. And that could have been Caicedo, because he's obviously proven it for a couple of years at Brighton now.
I think also Klopp's press conference was absolutely telling. He didn't expect to lose these players, as in Hendo and Fabi, this window. He didn't expect that. He didn't plan for that, which is why more funds, he says, were made available in 52 million. And that's why they went for Caicedo, which is fine. But again, I completely agree with you. I think a Lavia signing with Fabinho is the way that Liverpool should have done things. And regardless of whether Caicedo comes in or not, that's the way that it should have been done. Like, it takes a little bit of pressure off Lavia, who's 19 years old, made 50 odd appearances for Southampton last season.
He's got to be allowed to make mistakes, doesn't he? He's got to be allowed to fail. And the pressure you're under when you're at a club fighting for all the marbles is so high. He needs to be given a chance to come in, come out, reset his thinking. And you don't get that if you're the main 6.
Yeah, that is the bit. Like I've said before so many times, and so many of us have said it, 6 is perhaps the most difficult position on the pitch. I would say perhaps, rather than either a centre forward or a centre back, because the pressure's on you. But 6, you've got to be so emotionally intelligent and also intelligent enough on the pitch to know where you are on the pitch, to know where everyone else is as well. You're the quarterback of that team, and everything that happens runs through you. A lot of the attack moves through you, but more so the defence moves through you. That's a lot of pressure to put on a 19-year-old who got relegated last season. So the ideal scenario was for Fabi to come in, perhaps Lavia to learn from him, Bajcetic to, I personally think, is better as an 8. I loved him as that box-to-box. He looks so good with the ball at his feet. He looks so good in that transition movement. But again, let's see what happens. We are so close, by the way, to 8,500 subscriptions and nearly 300 likes just a day in the stream. So thank you so much for all of your commitment and staying with us. We are going for another 10 minutes, so please do make sure that you get your questions in. I'm going to put some quick fire questions in around about 7 minutes to the lads. Listen, boys, this 110 million, if it goes away because Caicedo chooses Chelsea, let's just say, I'm just going to say, let's say he chooses Chelsea. Where does that 110 million go? Mihai, where does it go? Who does it go to if you even want as well, if you want to be specific? But more importantly, we know that we've got this money. Who are you going to get?
I haven't done the math yet, but I would go Inacio as a center back. I would go Florentino Luis and maybe Tyler Adams.
Tyler Adams is so important to this deal because it seems like Chelsea have pulled out on that. So they have that extra 20 million in the bank because that release clause for Tyler Adams is 20 million if they get relegated, etc., etc. Chelsea were in for him. Apparently the deal was done. He didn't have his medical though. He had his medical, but nothing was signed officially. They've now pulled out on that to inject that extra cash into the Caicedo deal. He's very, very important. So Tyler Adams quite rightly might be a steal. Ben, where does your 110 go?
Inacio, definitely. I think his release clause is 45 million. So, that would be definitely something I would pay out. Difficult, isn't it? Because it's if it was here and now, I'd try. I don't know whether he signed any contracts recently or anything like that, but I'm a big fan of. Is it Kamara at Aston Villa? I'm a big fan of his. I watched him a couple of times in pre-season. He looks like the real deal. So, I'd if I was doing anything with it, I'd go maybe scout that out. But again, right, if I was in control of the purse strings, I don't think for me, it seems like this is. If we're looking at the history of looking at the Ali and the Van Dijk deal, it seems to be a splurge and then nothing for a couple of years after. So if I was in charge of the transfers right now, I wouldn't be in a rush to spend it because, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, it kind of does make sense when they were saying there's not a lot of value out there right now.
No. And there's a lack of options. It felt like it was a couple of years ago when we signed Nunes because there was a lack of nines. And then before that was the lack of midfielders and it's centre-backs, and it's sort of come back around. James, where does your 111 million, sorry, I said 110 earlier. I was just like spitballing. 111, so you got an extra 1 million on these guys. So you really are bargain hunting. Where are you going?
I think I would go Kone. I would try and get him over the line because he's big, powerful, and athletic. I would probably then go Tyler Adams as well. I like him, and as much as I know everyone wants Inacio, I want Schlotterbeck, so I would probably then wait and build up a bit of money, or I would wait and bid for Andre. I know Damo wants Thuram really badly, but I don't think he's coming. I think we're probably more likely to get Andre. And, I'm a big fan of Andre. He's already a Brazilian national. We're talking about Lavia and paying 55 million for a player compared to 20 million for a Brazilian international. I know it's a risk taking someone from the Brazilian league to the Premier League, but he's a Brazilian international. He's good enough to play on the international stage. So probably Kone, probably Andre, and then I would try and put as much money towards Schlotterbeck as I possibly could. Because I think he could replace Van Dijk.
I mean, I genuinely love it because there's so many different options out there in terms of who we could bring in. There's no one nailed on. I think George perhaps would prefer an Iniasso deal because he loves a release clause. But at the end of the day, who knows? And listen, I cannot believe this saga has gone on for this long in terms of Moises Caicedo. We are 3 subs away, by the way, from 8,500. So please do. If you are in those 3 who haven't subscribed yet, please do hit us a subscribe because it does go a long, long way. Oh, I've just had an update. We're now 1. Could you be that lucky one away from
the lucky one? What do they get?
It's like a lottery. They could win a ticket or something, Listen, thank you so much all for joining us. I do want to chuck some quick fire questions. I said we'll go for an hour and a half and I'll keep my absolute promise. I do want to chuck some quick fire questions in terms though. Let's move away from Caicedo because we don't know what's going on in terms of that. We've broken it down as much as we can. We've literally examined every single inch of what might or may not happen. let's move to the weekend then against Chelsea. We've gone through our midfield. I think our back 3/4 speaks for itself. What's always contentious is your front three. So Mihai, your front three all been banging in pre-season, all been notching, assisting, working so well together. Who is your front three going to be if, because we could put Gakpo midfield, Gakpo does not go to midfield?
Diaz, Jota, and Mo.
Okay. I like it. Diaz on the left, Gakpo through the middle, and Mo on the right. Ben?
If Gakpo wasn't in midfield, then I would go Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah. I just think Gakpo's got to play. He's that good.
And the same question to James.
I think it's Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah. And it's really harsh on Jota, but I tend to agree with something Matty and I talked about in the chat a while ago, which is Jota is Fairclough reincarnate. You know, he comes on the pitch, he scores a goal. Pretty much any time he comes on the pitch. If you look at his minutes per goal ratio, it's right up there with the best in the Premier League. But he comes on as a sub more often than not, and he's like a ghost. He just appears and scores. And I think for people older than me, even, who remember David Fairclough, who used to be known as super sub for Liverpool. He used to come on the pitch. He used to win them the game every time. I think Jota plays that role perfectly. I think he comes on the pitch. I think he scores us a goal. So I think if the game's, if we've got away from him, if anything like that, let Gakpo cause absolute chaos and then let Jota just come on and ghost at the back of the box where they have no idea what's going on and score a goal. But that's really harsh on Darwin Núñez, who's been really good. And I think he probably comes on for Diaz when the game gets stretched and then he's just full pelting down the left wing.
Okay, so we've all mentioned, I think my front three actually is probably the same. It's obviously Salah on the right, although I would love to see Ben Doak develop and come forwards. Yeah, it's like I'd love to see Doak come in. Doak, I'm trying to be like a bit continental Doak. And obviously, I think Gakpo is your workhorse and he's going to run those Chelsea defenders ragged. And then that will set Darwin up to come on for the last 30, 20 minutes to actually be the menace that he is and wreak havoc. And that's such a tricky position because I think Diaz should start. I think Jota's had such a great preseason. I actually think Jota perhaps starts through the middle, if I'm completely honest, even though I think it should be Gakpo. So we'll see. And it's actually nice to have that conundrum in midfield rather than, up front rather than that, oh no, who are we going to play in midfield? So my preferred front three would be Gakpo through the middle with Diaz and Salah flanking him, but I think it might be Jota starting through the midfield instead with Gakpo.
I wouldn't be angry if Jota started. I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I think he's just an absolute banger and he's an absolute finisher. If I'm completely honest, so that's our forward motion going. How do you think the game develops, Ben? How do you think Chelsea play this, and how do you think Liverpool play it? Because Chelsea have a new manager in Pochettino. They brought a lot of players in. They went in a massive transition stage last season. No one could see that coming from where Chelsea actually ended up finishing with a quality that they actually did have, like the Enzo Fernandez, etc., in their team. How do you think Chelsea approach this with Liverpool?
I just think that for Chelsea, there's going to be so much. There's going to be a lot of new systems, new tactics. I think there's going to be too much for them to. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, for me, I don't think Chelsea's just this year is a bad game for the first game of the season. I actually don't. I think they're in chaos, and I think that we will control the game. And I am actually predicting a landslide win.
Excellent. I like it. I like the optimism. Really quick fire question again. Same to you, James. How do you think Chelsea line up? How do you think the result goes?
I think Chelsea line up with one experienced, one inexperienced centre-back, which probably give like Thiago Silva and Wesley Fofana. I think that gives us the opportunity. And then they've got James and whatever his name is. that's Chilwell things. I think that just creates them far too many problems with an attacking three. So I think we probably carve into them and get them on the counter more often than not.
Liverpool are deadly on that counter attack, and I think that's where we will carve them open. Finally, Mihai, how do you think?
Chelsea will probably have more on the ball. We'll go on the counter more, and I guess I'm gonna go with a 3 or 4-2.
Nice. I think it was certainly our past 4 meetings with Chelsea, by the way, nice little fun fact for you, have all ended 0-0. There is absolutely zero chance of that happening this weekend. I'm pretty sure of it. Just a little bit of an update for all of you. I know that some of you put it in the chat. Chelsea are actively working to sign Moises Caicedo for £115 million in the coming hours. Is that curtains for Liverpool, James?
No, they've been actively working on this all fucking day.
Yeah. If they did that, if they reached, and that's that done, they do bid 115. Is that it? Or
150 million pound we bid.
Yeah. I was going to say, or do Liverpool go 116?
I think we've got to go back in, haven't we? Like, I just think that, this is the big club mentality that we should have. We've got the bone in our mouth. You need to. We should go back in, and we should be as difficult as possible. I would honestly take Caicedo. That's it. Transfer window over. I would take it because I do believe that it will be that influential for us. So I do think that at this point, even if we have to pay an extra 5-10 million quid, whatever, we get the deal done at any cost possible without obviously getting into hot water.
I completely agree. And the main thing, they might bid 115 million, but it depends on the makeup of the payments. I think Brighton want a lot of money up front, and unless Chelsea are prepared to do that, that could still work out as less money for Brighton. So I think there's a chance that even if they were to bid slightly more, it would still get rejected. They really need to ensure that they beat the Liverpool structure of payments, because by the sounds of things, that's what Brighton want.
As bizarre as it sounds, and I know it's something that I know I'm going to get some funny stares for this when I say it, but as bizarre as it sounds, I'd like us to go in with a higher offer before Chelsea even come in. I want us to, there's a saying that I forgot the saying, but I'd like us to show the aggressiveness. I'd like us to really attack this deal and get it across the line if it can be done. So at whatever costs, as backward as negotiating as it has to be, let's just try and thrash it out.
I can only apologise,
Thank you so much, by the way. I was just going to say, Jose, thank you so much for your $5 donation. We have one of the best attacks in the world. Absolutely had some elite midfielders, and we might tear Chelsea apart 4-0. I can't see our defence holding firm, if I'm honest. I think it might be maybe a 4-3, 4-2, purely based on pre-season, but we will see. Thank you so much, all of you, for listening. This has been an absolutely extravagant episode of LFC Transfer Room. We've been going on for about an hour and 32, and listen, we've had over 500 over 500 viewers at every single minute. So thank you so much for that. We reached heights of 1,000 views, which, as Damo said, is probably double the amount that City get in the Etihad every week. So thank you so much for that. It shows how amazing that you are, but also how amazing Liverpool Football Club is. We are the Reds. We'll always be the Reds. Whatever happens with Caicedo, it is what it is. Jurgen Klopp and the boys will come through. Thank you so much for spending your Friday night with us. James, Mihai, Ben, and myself, thank you. Take care. And as always, up the Reds.